Welcome back, guys. So this is really cool. I actually made this bench here. It's for my good friend Laura. She's starting Kittygirl Boutique, which is a
I actually make bath products with allergens in mind. So you know how there's a lot of companies out there that just have fragrances or additives or like red dye 40, all the random stuff in it. I try and keep that out of my products. I use my coloring for the colorant, organic oils. I can even switch out the oils if you're allergic to one or the other. So I've been working really hard on it and making sure that everything's as skin safe as possible and as customizable as possible so that you have the best experience possible.
There you go. Cool thing, she's also going to be my beard balm manufacturer. Crazy, right? Anyways, this is the first piece of several that I'm actually building for her and her shop. I'll go over the details after I show you how it's built. So let's make some sawdust. So everything begins by making big pieces of wood smaller. It's really as simple as that. Set up a jig and chop everything down. If you do everything once, all at the same time, even if you're off on your measurement, at least you'll be consistent, and that's a world better. The good thing about working in the Red Door Creative is, while there's no other events going on, I'm free to stockpile outside of my shop, which gives me a lot more room to work and gives me a lot more versatility and allows me to do bigger projects like building Kittygirl Boutique shop. If you're ever wondering what that piece of wood bolted to the end of my chop saw, miter saw type thing is, that's actually a stop block fence. It allows me to set up repeatable cuts. And I'll show you that in the future. The most important thing is making sure your legs are all straight. Like I said, even if they're not exactly right where you want them, as long as they're consistent, it'll yield a good product. And be as meticulous as you can when you're marking things out. I know it might seem like a pain in the rear when you're doing it first, but if you take the extra 15-20 minutes, your life is going to be so much easier. Really. I like to set the height of the table saw by using one of the actual boards as opposed to using a measurement, because sometimes the boards you're using are going to be different from the actual nominal measurement. And this is just kerfing out the areas I need to remove. You've seen me do this dozens of times already with, you make a bunch of kerf cuts. They don't have to be, square, plumb, or whatever, as long as they're the right depth and you don't go over your initial mark. And you just go back and knock them off with a chisel later. Super easy. And since they're hidden, they make a great cut. It's easy, it's repeatable. Just use your miter fence or your miter gauge and go to town. And it is so satisfying watching those little pieces fly off when you hit them with the chisel. I know I've said this a couple times, but really, it is satisfying. And again, the most important things to do with this cut, your first cut and your last cut must be perfect. Everything else you can just throw in there. Smash, crackle, and pop. It really is fun, and the cleanup is super easy. I do recommend, however, using a sharp chisel, especially when you're going over like I am right now. Flattening the areas makes a world of difference if your chisel is sharp. And let me tell you this, no chisels come sharp enough out of the box. Always sharpen your chisels when you get new ones. Ugh, I can't say this enough. And I am coated in sawdust in this. Must have been a good day. Now it's time to line everything up. The good thing about doing these cuts too, it gives you the perfect area to line everything up with, even if you forgot to go ahead and make those cuts. Because these are going to butt up against the stretcher pieces that go in the back and the front, and really gives you a good, strong joint. It really helps keep everything from racking, and it gives you a good place to secure any clamps or anything you need on the edges of your tables, like Kittygirl Boutique. In fact, she's going to be starting her own YouTube channel soon, and this will be advantageous for her. And sometimes you have to come back and clean things up. I really do love my jigsaw for this. I bought that thing years ago, and if you can afford to buy the better tool, buy the better tool. You will really appreciate it later down the line. It always feels good to have things staged up. It kind of feels like you're getting things accomplished. I mean, I know I am, but to see it actually there is great. And then when you start, roughing together the skeleton, it is an incredible feeling. And see, this is where doing those kerf cuts in the back and the front really help things out when you're lining up the stretchers and the apron. Because it gives it the stretcher and the apron a good pocket to sit inside of, makes it easy to clamp together so you can put multiple pieces. It's a great solution for when you're working by yourself. And you can always adjust things with a hammer too. It's a fun trick. Now, I did make a mistake. I couldn't lay in the bottom shelf while the top braces were on. So I had to take those off, and while I'm figuring out how to do that, because it takes me a little bit, I'd like to talk about my Patreon members. I have 2 new members this week, Maria and Laura Blackwell. Thank you so much for joining and helping to make the whole thing here a reality. It really does mean a lot to me. It means a lot that you guys reach out, that you support me, that you support my family, my business, my passions. So thanks. And guys, if you want, go over to patreon.com/Knightsmith to support this channel. It costs as little as $1 a month. Oh look, I figured it out. In real time, this took me a while and a lot of cussing, because I tried every conceivable way to get that shelf in there, and it just wouldn't fit. And since I'm making this for somebody else, I can't just cut it in half to force it to fit. So, bit of a headache, but I got it in. You can see how lovely this is, just pounding that stretcher right in. It's so much fun to watch this go in. It was so satisfying to watch it go in. And putting on the top, while it's not very flashy or exciting, is very important. It ties everything together. And I know I'm not showing how I finish it. That wasn't part of the contract. However, I did put the polyurethane on top of them for them. And you can see I'm putting the back plate on. I neglected to get a shot of me, putting that little wavy pattern. I forget what it's called. It's adding a little art to it. But the purpose is to mount some power strips along the top, as well as prevent things from rolling off the back. And since this is going to be the main work table, I felt that was important. The hardest part is getting it all lined up so that it matches, because this piece wasn't cut exactly correct. And now one of the fun parts of the build, sanding everything down. Eventually I'm going to get a router, and this is going to make my life infinitely better. But since she's going to be working on this table day in, day out, for hours at a time, I wanted to make sure all the corners that she could come in contact with were rounded over nicely. It's just one of those things that you never think about until you scrape your hand across a piece of wood or a piece of metal that's exactly 90 degrees. It's not a good feeling, so I try to keep others from that pleasantness. Alright guys, so what'd you think? One big thing that kind of angers me is, and you can see it, is the color change. I know you can see the rack and the shelves here in your periphery. This is the varnish I used. It's a polyurethane, and it stunk to high heaven. I hate it. But it's silky smooth, and I think it'll do a great job protecting the wood. I mean, this thing is rock solid, and there's a lot more storage space than I anticipated. So, this is the first of a 4-part series building her shop. The whole thing. Well, actually, I'm not doing the shelves. They're basic, and I have things in mind for that later. So we're going to do this. We're going to do that rack next. Then we're going to do the table and a little mobile island. So stay tuned for seeing what that looks like. I'm going to be releasing these over this next month, one Friday. I think it's going to be really cool. And by the time this goes live, her website's going to be live, and it is
Kittygirlboutique.com. It's going to forward you directly to my Etsy page. Eventually I'll have both Amazon and Etsy available. But for now, Kittygirlboutique.com is the URL, and that's how you get to me.
So guys, if you have a lady or if you want to do something nice for yourself, go over to her. Support the people who support me. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, and thank you for helping me make this world better. One kerf at a time, and I'll see you next week.